Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Bob with Cinephellas. This is my interview with Chris Grine, author, illustrator of the Anamorph Series, Time Shifters, the Netflix series Chicken Hair. Also, this is his book, Secrets of Camp Whatever, and Volume 2, Doors to Whatever. Give a look as I talk to him about his inspiration, what exactly was behind a lot of his motives behind the characters, and I might even try to talk him into coming up north and kind of doing a book signing. So here you guys go and enjoy. Chris, how are you this morning?
I'm good. Let me click on the got it there. Okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. Had to represent the book behind me here. I wanted to make sure that people who are watching this or whatever know what we're dealing with. Got to say, I'm loving the background right now.
Oh
Your
yeah, thank you.
the Mando, the Marine Corps, it's absolutely fantastic.
That's how I spend my money. Unfortunately, my wife's not exactly so happy about it all the time, but
Is that a little DeLorean on your table too?
yeah, it's die cast. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. I've had it for a while. I don't even think you can get it anymore, but yeah.
See, this is the good stuff I like seeing. I like seeing someone else who has that great side to them. So I've been playing around with your books. I'm loving the Camp Nowhere idea. So, I mean, I work at a bookstore. I work at Barnes and Noble out here, and I've seen a lot of your work in there, especially the Anamorph series, and a lot of kids love it. I remember loving them as a kid. The books, I love seeing the graphic novels. Now, when it comes to this, though, the first two things that jumped out to me were Gravity Falls and Lumberjanes, which is a perfect mashup of anything for kids around this age. Were those inspirations to you, or was this just a happy, like, unintentional?
I think it was just a happy unintentional, but after I heard that feedback from several people, I was like, okay. And so I did go and I'm a huge animation fan, and I had never gotten into Gravity Falls, but only because I knew that it was continuity based, and it always felt weird just jumping into any episode, and I wanted to watch it from the beginning. So I finally did, and yeah, I mean that show is amazing, and I can completely see the connection now. So yeah, it was just an accident.
And Lumberjanes, I felt like the camaraderie of the girls and stuff like that. Like I really I kind of dug the interactions, especially because I don't know, like you don't see it too often. You know what I mean? A girl led, you don't see it. I mean, Lumberjanes, Paper Girls, stuff around those lines, but it's refreshing to see it in I don't want to say horror based, but we're in a thriller based graphic novel.
Well, thanks. Yeah, being a guy, it's probably weird for some people to say, well, why did he write a book that was just all girls and stuff? But I have a daughter who's 14, and she has a circle of friends, and I've obviously been observing that for years now, how they interact and tease each other and the different personalities that kind of rise to the top. And so I kind of leaned into that pretty hard while I was writing dialogue and stuff. I'd have like specifically, certain of my daughter's friends in mind when I would be like writing like for a particular character kind of based on their personality that I knew to kind of get started anyway. But that was kind of where I pulled from on that.
I was actually going to ask, like, were these characters based on anyone, including the staff, including the counselors, anything like that? Was any of that, were any of these people you knew as a child, or if you had gone to summer camp, or any of these people pulled from any memory?
Not really. The kids more so, like what I was just saying, but the other character, like I kind of just let them be as wild as, well, as I was writing them. I kind of decided what the characters were, right? So then I just kind of let their motivation kind of write itself as I went. And if I ended up with a problem later, I'd go back and change a little bit, but I kind of just let them be wild and crazy as much as they could. And I definitely knew that Tudor was going to be like a jerk, kind of like he doesn't want to be there with kids. He doesn't like kids. He's got ulterior motives for being there. So I tried to make sure that he was handling it from a very business perspective. Like he just had to get through it. So I knew that was going to be how he kind of related with the kids and how he interacted with everybody. And that definitely helped if everybody kind of saw him as kind of a jerk. But he didn't see that at all in himself. He just thought he was awesome. But and the other characters just kind of fell into place. I figured, a lot of the creature type characters, or the people who lived on that island, would probably be pretty okay with the kids, as long as the kids stayed within the bounds and kind of followed the rules and stuff. So I guess what you were asking is like, no, I didn't really base any of the other characters or the staff or anything on anybody in particular. It was just things that made me laugh or things that, I just felt was interesting.
You made a cool choice with making Willow deaf, the hearing aid, stuff like that. Like as soon as I grabbed it, I'm like, all right, this is going to be a cool plot point and stuff like that. Was there a reasoning behind it? And by no means am I saying, why would you? I'm saying, like, was there a reason you went, you know what, this is how I want to do it, and this is how I want to play with it?
I didn't start off with that in mind when I was writing the pitch for the book or whatever. That was just it was pretty much just a straightforward story minus that, right? And it was always kind of missing. I always felt like Willow was missing something interesting about her, but I really didn't know what it was at the time. And I think when I was writing for one of the other characters, I think it might have been Emma, actually, who I had decided like, oh, that might be something interesting for them to explore, with her, if maybe, she teaches them sign language or something, some type of a way of bonding, right? And the more I kind of got into that, the more I was like, this is really fascinating. And as much as I love Emma, she's not the main character. And I felt like I should at least explore that with Willow and see how that can impact the story. And the more I did, the more I played with that aspect of it. It was just like, it was so obvious to me that, that was something that it was worth exploring. And I really enjoyed, trying to figure out ways that she could use that to her advantage, where she maybe in the past has maybe seen it as a disadvantage. But I also didn't want to fall into the thing where like, but now it's like her superpower. And now I just wanted to it's something that she has lived with, her most of her life. And, she's had, different reactions from different types of people. Maybe she's got a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, like she's defensive immediately when maybe she doesn't need to be. And that was just something that my editor was really interested in exploring that too. So she definitely pushed me along the way, and I think it's ultimately way stronger because of that.
With the way you write, like it really engulfs the reader. At least it did to me. And I'm sure the teens that will be reading this, it's going to grab them off. Now, with the cool thrill base and stuff like that, are you a thriller fan? Like, are you a big mystery thriller reader, a horror reader? Are you a fan of the genre of film? Like, I felt like a lot of things in here were kind of, thriller is the most I can put on this, thriller / fantasy. Are you a fan of that genre of books,
Absolutely.
movies, anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not sure how old you are, but I grew up in the 80s, and like so many of the movies in the 80s were way more dangerous for kids. And what I mean by that is like Goonies, or Explorers, or any movie, a Monster Squad, things like that, where there's real stakes and things are happening. And by today's standards, I think a lot of that wouldn't be allowed for like a certain age group anymore. And that was definitely something I pulled on, bringing it, because I think, and I have kids now, I can see how they like to be scared a little bit. They like a good mystery. They like to work things out along with the characters. Whenever watching movies or TVs, I can see them trying to figure it out and what's going on. So that was something I was definitely approaching with it too, is because I love a good mystery, a movie or a TV show where you're trying to figure it out as you go. And maybe there's a few red herrings, or there's a few, things that kind of, expand the world a little bit more as they go, but get the reader or the watcher, playing along with them. And that was definitely something I was really excited to do, that because I hadn't done that before. That was nothing I'd actually written personally, but it was definitely a genre that I love. So
I'm 41. So when you said Goonies, it's like, oh, a lot of people, but when you said Explorers, like that was one of my favorites as a kid, especially that in Space Camp for some reason was another one that like you said, real stakes and all that.
Well, Explorers is terrifying. It's kids who build a spaceship and then just leave. They just go into space. That's terrifying. It wasn't played that way in the movie, but the more you think about it, it's like, ugh.
Oh yeah, revisiting the childhood movies, I sit back and I'm like, yeah, they've let me watch that. Like Uncle Buck is extremely like, it's funny, but some of the things in there, I was like, I was watching this at 8. Like, I don't think I was supposed to be doing this.
Yeah, there is a lot of that in the 80s, and a lot of us grew up on that kind of stuff too. And with kids now, I definitely can see the problems with some of that stuff. So I try to, whenever I write, people ask me how I write my stuff, and I write stuff for me, but with kids in mind. that's kind of how I do it. So it's things that I think are fascinating and I grew up loving, like spaceships and, monsters and creatures and whatever. But I try to not cross a certain line with, if it's too scary or too violent or, anything like that. Like I definitely try to keep it as all ages as possible, but I try to push the boundaries where I can.
These were great. Chicken Hair, I haven't had the time to read. Time Shifter, I believe I have at work, and then Anamorphs. Like I said, I've turned a lot of kids onto those because I remember reading them as a preteen for the most part. So, and I mean, you're also an illustrator, so a lot of you is all over these books. Now, would you ever venture into an adult type graphic novel, not so much superhero, but like an independent Image, Oni Press obviously being very big in the comic industry? Would you ever venture out into a comic style issue base?
Definitely. I would never say no to that. It would just have to be something that I was equally interested in doing, a lot of my ideas and my stuff I love to do tend to fall into the all ages group. So that just kind of works out for me, because a lot of publishers are looking for that now. So that's perfect. But there is definitely things that I'd like to do that are definitely, not necessarily mature kind of reading, but definitely older. And I think I have a couple pitches kind of in my back pocket for that once the Camp Whatever stuff is wrapped up and Anamorphs, if I'm ever done doing Anamorphs, because there's 54 titles in that series, and I'm contracted for 1 through 6 right now.
Yeah, I feel like that's a well that they can keep going back to.
Yes.
Now, is there any dream project you have, like anywhere in the world? I know you're a Star Wars fan. You're obviously a Back to the Future fan. It seems like we have a lot of fandoms in common. Is there any dream project you have, or if they came to you and said, "Hey, we'd like you to do this," or whatever you want, it's your call? Is there a dream project you'd be into?
Something with the Muppets, I think.
Oh my gosh, that would be absolutely amazing.
That was my first and still most powerful influence as just a creative for my entire life. I just recently got, I moved them, but I got all the, actually I can reach them right here. I got all the little Lego Muppet, stuff. And my son built me a little Lego stage to go with it, which was awesome. And, but I'm a huge fan of Jim Henson. Basically anything that he was involved with while I was growing up was where my heart was at. And I think it's definitely the wackiness. Like I watch the Muppet Show now and I'm like, okay, everything's off the wall and things are crazy and just out of control. And then I look at my writing, and sometimes the way I write is very much like I just throw everything into the story and just kind of let things work out. Lots of different types of characters, things that maybe other people wouldn't think would work, and maybe they don't work all the time, but I kind of see the same thing. So it's definitely had a huge influence on me.
The Muppets made a resurgence. I mean, obviously the Legos, the 2 movies or 3 movies, I believe, were really successful, stuff like that. Maybe Oni kind of goes, you know what, we could put, I don't know if they have the licensing, but I mean, there's definitely a crowd out there.
Yeah, I just don't know what it would be. I know there was about a decade ago, I think there was a Muppet show or a Muppet themed comic book series, and I just remember going, oh, I would have loved to have had that, but I was I just was kind of getting started still in comics. I hadn't really done much, and I mean, I had no leverage at all for a job like that, but I would jump at an opportunity to do something like that with the Muppets, or even just something with that creative community. I'm still dying to go see the museum show that they've got. I think it's in Georgia right now, or I'm not sure if it's traveling or if that's where it's actually at, but every time I see people post pictures of behind the glass, all the puppets and stuff, and I'm just, I'm a kid again immediately. So
no, I actually have Beaker, Animal, Professor Honeydew, like all these stuff. Then my one son is terrified of Honeydew because he doesn't have eyes, and so I sort of have to keep him hidden. But those were my favorite as a kid as well. And my sister's boyfriend actually pre-ordered a whole bunch of bags of those Lego figures, and he's come out with the same 4 every time.
I skipped that and just bought from some dude on eBay who sells like complete sets. And the crazy part is that it was pretty much the exact same price as if I bought all the sets plus tax or whatever. And I didn't have to deal with having duplicates or having to constantly rebuy, hoping, just trying to complete the set. So I kind of cheated a little bit, but I've yet to see any in stores, so maybe that was the only way I was going to be able to do it. So
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the blind bags, but nothing in a blind set. I think they came in like sets of 4. You
yeah.
just bought it and you win or lose on that one. So also Chicken Hair, Time Shifter, Anamorphs, and of course the Camp Whatever series. Is there a next project coming up that you're very excited about? You don't have to tell me names or anything like that, but is there something more we should be keeping our eye out for?
Well, right now, like, so I'm right here on the screen too. I'm basically in the middle of. I'm just about done inking the 3rd and final Camp Whatever book. So I color that. So somewhere like early August, I'll be jumping back into the next Animorphs books, and then I have 3 back-to-back Animorphs books to be doing, and that'll be at least my next 18 months of work, because I've been knocking these things out about every 6 months. And after that, I do have some other pitches and stuff. I have like an outer space type pitch. I've got one with another creator that we've been kicking around for about a decade that I really hope goes somewhere, but I don't really want to talk about them because there's not much to talk about yet, and it's all very much hope, that, I can find a publisher, pick stuff up. But since I have so much Animorph stuff ahead of me, I haven't really been pitching a lot of other stuff because, if I pitch some ideas to a publisher and they get really excited about it, which would be great, I'd still have to tell them, well, I won't be able to start for about 2 years, and they don't want to hear that. So I wait till a little closer to time to.
Now, have you ever been or have you ever thought about going to some of the conventions, Comic Cons or anything like that? I'm in the Chicagoland area, so C2E2 is very big out here. Have you ever thought about jumping onto that?
I do the Planet Comic Con here in Kansas City. I do every year, and I went to C2E2 once a few years ago. Mostly it was just kind of check it out. I have one of the things is I have anxiety, which I know a lot of people do, but things like traveling is one of my major triggers. Like as far as if you want to, have me spiral, all afternoon, not be able to function and kind of no productivity at all, just tell me I have to pack for a show or something. But and I have a lot of peers who work, that do Image and Marvel and stuff. And like, they can pack up all their stuff very easily in long boxes and stuff. And maybe, put one of them in a suitcase and you've got like 100 issues of something to sell. Right. But when you're doing what I do, which is primarily just graphic novels, it's like, it gets very heavy very quickly. So I'd have to ship stuff and I'd have to, and see, I'm getting anxious right now just talking about it. Like, I just don't, it's very hard for me to do that. So I try to stick to the local shows as much as I would love the bigger shows. If a publisher was like, hey, we're going to be there, you can just come and just sit at the table and sign all day. We'll have all the books. That'd be perfect. I'd be there in a second. But it's just the thought of having a table at a bigger show. I'd have to take so much product.
I was agoraphobic for 10 years. I could not travel whatsoever. So even when I go to Chicago, which is about an hour 10 from me, I get really the heart starts beating like crazy. I'm doing press this year, so the heart's going, oh gosh, who are we going to talk to? All that stuff. Too bad I don't have anything more to offer you. At the Barnes & Noble by me, I'm in charge of bringing in authors and to sign books and all that, and I usually have the book. So if you ever want to travel up to a northwest suburb of Chicago, if you're ever in the area, email me and I'll have you come into a small bookstore and you can just talk to all the kids.
That's fine. I love doing that stuff. It's just the thought of packing up enough to have like a display or a table that's filled enough to offset the cost that it would, for travel, and setting up at a show like that it just feels overwhelming to me. I'm sure I would do just fine, but like, even when we travel as a family, we go on vacation, like my wife is absolutely in charge of all of that. Just because she just tells me where to go. We get in the car, go to the airport. She just tells me where to go, where the gate is for the the airplane or whatever we're doing. Like, she's in charge until we get there, whatever the destination is, and then I'm perfectly fine. But the traveling stuff is I don't know what is wrong with me sometimes, but I just cannot.
It gets overwhelming. Then you start going, well, what happens if I forget? What is this and all that? And then you go down that amazing spiral that our brain is somehow capable of.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I said, if you're ever planning a trip to Chicago, hit me up and I'll make sure I have every book you've made right there on a table. I'll set the table up. You just have to sit there, smile, and sign.
All right. I'll take you up on that.
Thank you so much for your time, Chris. This has been unbelievable. I'm excited I'm going to make sure I have actually all your books in stock, because I'm going to talk you up a little bit more. Like I said, I'm in charge of community development amongst the schools as well. So I tell the schools what books they should be looking for to have in their library. This is definitely going to be up there, especially, I think, definitely around the 9 to 13 area, I think is the beautiful, like, sweet spot for this book. But is there any, I'm positive you have an Instagram and all that stuff. Is there any way the people who listen to this and all that can follow you?
Yeah, basically, I mean, I'm mostly just on Twitter and Instagram anymore. My Twitter is just Chris Grine with no spaces. So just ChrisGrine. And then my Instagram is Grindtastic.
I really like
my
that.
last name with tastic after it. I don't know. It seemed like the right idea at the time. So
you know what though? It's gonna follow you around forever now. So it's always gonna be a nod back to when you're like, what should I get? Oh, there we go.
I know, for better or worse, it'll always be Grindtastic now.
I mean, I'm a big tattoo fan. You just need to get that across your arm.
Oh. I'm running out of room on my arms too, because I'm also like a big tattoo fan. So I got them.
That is funny. You got 2 boys, or 2 kids. I got 2, and everyone gets the footprints with their date of birth.
Yeah.
And I'm not that, so I actually had them write. It's not going to show up on here. I had them write their names on my forearm, and then I had my buddy who's a tattoo artist tattoo their names in their handwriting.
That's actually incredible. I've never.
I figured, Andy always wrote his name on his toys, and they have me wrapped around their fingers. So I was like, all right, you write your name on me, and that's what I do.
Yes, I don't know if I can do a very good job of showing you this one. This is a Griffin, and my son's name is Griffin, so spelled a little differently, but that's kind of how I've kind of done it. So I name my children after things instead of actual names, apparently. So
that's okay. With the last name Ward, it's such a common, it's like an Irish John Doe. So I had to come up with an interesting one. So I have a Dexter and a Chance. Just
nice.
You need different names. You need names that'll stick out. They're not going to have Chance W and Chance R. They're going to be one and done. Well, again, Chris, thank you so much for your time. Please take me up on that offer. I would be more than happy to have you out at the store. I'll even take you and the family out for dinner at a couple of the barbecue joints, or we'll get some good Chicago style hot dogs or whatever. Don't know if you've ever been to Portillo's, but it's pretty good as well.
I haven't. Now I'm starting to feel like I need to come up there.
Absolutely. You come on up. We'll go for hot dogs. They have a thing called the chocolate cake shake. They literally take a chocolate milkshake and shove a piece of chocolate cake in it. I wish it was more descriptive than that, but it's all in the name.
That sounds really good.
All right, Chris, thank you so much, and you have a good day.
You too.
So there you go. That's Chris Grine, author, illustrator, Eisner nominated, I want to add. So again, Chicken Hair, Anamorphs, Time Shifters. Now, Secrets of Camp Whatever and Secret of Camp Whatever, Volume 2, Doors to Nowhere. Give them a read. They're kind of cool. Like I said, Gravity Falls feel to it. Anyway, again, I'm Bob with Cinephellas. Peace.